Having the feeling that the entire world is constantly judging you is killing you. It's sucking the energy out of you. It leaves no room for embarrassment and failure, things that are 100% necessary in life, right? And it was this phenomena that almost ended up into me taking a life. It was this phenomena that almost got me in a place of no way back. Well, at least not before I would have spent a great amount of my time in jail, right? And this this phenomenon is the reason why you haven't approached that beautiful girl in the gym. Is the reason why you haven't started that business. It makes you feel like there's no room for trial, no room for error. And if you don't make it right on the first attempt, then the whole world will see it and will judge you fiercely for it. At least that's how it feels in your mind. That's how those are the thoughts that flow within your mind, right? And the only reason you don't have a desired result is because you are afraid of the voices of the imaginary audience that will judge you along the way of attaining that desired result. And you don't even realize how much mental power you have, and it's no longer wasted on characters that you create with your mind, right? The phenomena that I'm now talking about, I call it the imaginary audience, right? So reading books, meditating, working out is fine, but it's clearing the imaginary audience that will make you successful. What is the imaginary audience, you may ask? The imaginary audience is the phenomenon of having the feeling that there's always somebody watching your every move. Somebody or some people are sitting in the audience and you are performing in front of them. And don't you dare to fail, because if you do, they will judge you so fiercely. They will judge you so fiercely and be so rude to you that the whole world will come to an end. At least that's how it feels in your mind, right? And you can already understand your mind becomes a place that's like, yeah, not a good place to be in, because it's so you perceive everything within your mind as a possible danger, right? And how does the imaginary audience operate? It comes in a lot of forms. The best, you can only really cure this through realizing how it plays out in your own life. But I'm gonna give you a couple examples, right? Be aware when you're trying to be smart. Be aware when you're trying to be cool. When you're trying to come over as tough. When you're trying to be the funny dude. When you're trying to come over as perfect, right? Basically everything that you are trying to be. Trying to be is a trying to be something is a representation of your view that there's only one right thing to do. And that one right thing to do is the thing that you're trying to convince people about, right? The imaginary audience, right? And if your situation doesn't fall under that, so under the thing that you label as like, oh yeah, this is the only right way, then you will trigger the imaginary audience, right? You will judge yourself so fiercely and cast it onto the imaginary audience. And now it's clearly like that this is sabotaging you, but why do we do it then? When we're younger, we were just flowing, right? We were being instead of trying. But then we got to a point that we got judged so fiercely for who we were, right, during that time, that we stop having the belief in ourselves, and we become self-centered. And don't be fooled by the name. Self-centeredness is actually all about pleasing the outer world instead of being yourself. So it will better be, basically the better name for it will be no self-centered, because you're all about pleasing the outer world, which will never work at first, because they will always feel that you're empty from the inside. And secondly, you're just lying to yourself and just sabotaging yourself. And it's this self-centeredness that makes us form a mental image of who we need to be for the world to accept us, so that we no longer go through that judgment that we receive so fiercely. This could be from your parents or just your entire, or just other people in your environment. And the thing is, oftentimes it triggers around that age when you start to look into the outside world and look for, okay, what is everybody's role in life, and you basically adopt a new identity, right? So that's when you are really susceptible for it, because even though when you're younger you probably got judged, but it wasn't too many second thoughts behind it, because you weren't really that self-conscious of like, okay, who do I need to be accepted, things like that, right? So, and yeah, it's this mental image that we create in order to be accepted, to be liked by the world. And if we have the feeling that we stepped out of that mental image, then we'll feel like there's something wrong with us, to the point that we need to indulge in everything that doesn't remind us about who we are, right? Because at that moment we're feeling so much shame and so many negative emotions about who we are at that moment, that we just feel like, nah, man, whatever goes in here in my mind, I need to escape that. And that's how all the addictions come into play, right? That's basically the whole addiction thing. The addictions are really just, and then I'm talking about porn, I'm talking about eating all those things, right? Basically doing everything. All those addictions, they are just a way to self-regulate when you're in a high state of stress, right? You're feeling so wrong about yourself. You're feeling like, yeah, now I need to really like, I need to escape. So that's what you will do through those things, right? And even if those things that even if those things, those habits are slowly killing you, because we all know eating bad is like, it's bad for your health, right? And things like masturbation, those things are all bad, right? And what we really need to understand to cure this symptom is that the imaginary audience is never judging you. You are judging yourself. The characters that form the imaginary audience are being pulled by the strings of your own mind, right? Just like really enforce that in your mind. Like, it's you. It's you thinking like, oh, she is judging me. So that already says, if the thought of she is judging you is in your own head, then you're judging yourself, and just like, you're just casting it onto her. She don't really, and she might judge you in real life, but it's still your thought that makes you judge yourself, right? If you're not aware of the judgment, then no matter how many times the outer world will judge you, you won't just feel it. It's not in your mind, so it won't be reality, right? So, like, in that sense, you're literally the puppet master of your own suffering. You do it all yourself. You mentally create characters and assign them opinions that stem from your own judgment, and it's you reacting to them. So it's you reacting to the own mentally created, to the own mentally created, to the own mentally created characters, right, in your mind. And it's you assigning stories to them. It's you assigning judgment to them, right? And this is the definition of creating your own suffering, right? And that's also why you create a illusion that people can control you, when in reality they cannot. That's why everybody is unhappy, right? And this is a very harsh truth, but let me tell you, there was just recently, this happened in my hometown. Somebody committed suicide, and a lot of people commit suicide because of bullying, things like that. But let me tell you, if I bully you, I'm just every day telling you, you're a fat dude, you're a fat dude, you're a fat dude, you're goofy, you're this and that, and you commit suicide, it's never my fault. Because it's you giving me the power for that to have effect. And this all comes from creating that imaginary audience. Because judgment is always happening in your own mind. It's never the person actually judging you. That's the difference why some people are just so confident. Why? Because they don't create that whole judgment thing, right? So yeah, this is really so yeah, that's really why people continue to hold that illusion, and basically everything bad stems out of that, because this just kills your energy, right? You can already you and I didn't notice that at first, but when you're just continuously creating stories, you're using all your mental power to create those stories. And once you no longer create them, no longer think about the imaginary audience, all of a sudden you have power and feel confident to start businesses and do this and that, right? And that's the thing. So we always create those mental stories, and then when people actually judge us, we display the same reactivity that we have been training all the time with the imaginary audience. So that's the whole thing. It's never that really people make you sad. People just trigger a feeling in yourself that you created for yourself, right? It's you creating that illusion, like, okay, yeah, this person holds power above me, and then once somebody judge you, you trigger that program basically in your mind. And we're 100% in control of our own lives. Others are never in control of us. And like I've said, like we just get triggered and reactivated. We just get triggered by people and reactivate the self-created unconscious states within us. Then we blame the person for sending us into that state, when it's in reality us that made it possible for the person to trigger us in the first place. It's really just another form of victimhood. It's basically, whenever you're saying that person makes me sad, you're not trying to take responsibility for your own sadness, because that's really what it is, right? It's your sadness. It's in your body, right? It's in your mind. What does that person has to do with it, right? And this is not a sadness when I'm talking about somebody dying, right? That's a whole different thing, right? That's like grief. That's very different than sadness. But oftentimes sadness is just a self-created unconscious state within us, right? And you really need to be aware of that. And now you need to ask yourself, what would you do if it wasn't for you justifying your existence to the imaginary audience? You would probably work on that crazy dream of yours. You will probably approach that one girl. You will do everything but let yourself be stopped by your own suffering. It's never about other people. It's all about whatever goes up in here, right? And that's why conquering your mind is bullshit. And you should never listen to those stupid creators that say, yeah, you need to conquer your mind. You need to fight with your mind, because that's something which it will never work. Why? Because mind is bigger than you, right? Mind is all. Like, that's why in spirituality we always talk about like the universal mind, things like that, right? It's the mind is your tool, and it's not about controlling the mind. It's about controlling whatever we allow in the mind. And the imaginary audience is definitely not something that we should allow in it. And if this is a same phenomena that you notice in your own life and you're ready to work on that, I got a coaching program for this. It's a coaching call. For now, it's free. I will leave the link in the description and you can sign up. I will also leave another link for my personal website. There you can find my newsletter. And yeah, if you want to see more content of me, that over there I write, and it's more longer form. So if you want to see more content like this, I post about everything, basically self-improvement related, online business, through a like holistic view, spirituality twist in it, right? So yeah, feel free to check that out. And yeah, thank you for watching this video, and feel free to drop me a comment, like, share it with a friend that you would be like, okay, yeah, he needs this. This dude is definitely living with the imaginary audience. Share it, and yeah, see you soon. I'm out.